In the still of the night, I think of you. My heart beats with every thought of you. You're the one I can't let go. In your arms I find my home. Love, sweet love, it's you I'm dreaming of every moment.
As he kissed her, Helen could feel herself rising from the dark abyss she found herself in, and she circled her hands around his neck. He was the light and she couldn't help reaching for it. Suddenly the door opened. Stanley and Uche burst into the room. "Hey buddy, how about some beach football?" The two of them stopped at the same time, noticing Chuck and Helen, who had just heard voices. Helen tried to spring away from him, but Chuck was not letting her go. "Be with you in a moment," he said lazily, and watched the two leave. Helen wanted to die of the shame that engulfed her. "Oh my goodness," Helen exclaimed in shock. "Helen, stay away from me," she said to him. She began to look around for her clothes. "I get this was an innocent mistake, both of us ending up in the same room and not knowing it till now." She stopped to look at him. But what just happened? What they just saw wasn't innocent. No, it was not, and it is none of their business. Those are people whose respect I have earned. But thanks to you, all that is in the gutter. He smiled. "So kissing me is equivalent to losing respect? Look, I have to leave. I will come for my stuff later." "Helen, you lost your respect when you entertained the thoughts of cheating on Dave with me. If you are looking for who to blame, look in the mirror." Helen stared at him. They stared at each other. At the moment, she hated him more than she hated any human in the whole world. She wanted to hurt him, but there was nothing she could say or do at that moment that would satisfy the rage inside her. As she stood in her short nightshirt and him in his boxers, chest heaving, trying to control their respective tempers, and at the same time fight the urge to dive at each other and satisfy the other hunger that had been gnawing at them since they woke up together. The door opened the second time. This time around, so engulfed were they in each other that they didn't care who came in until they had a gasp. "Wow!" Star exclaimed. "Sorry, Helen, thought you were alone," Nma said and slowly closed the door. Helen refused to think about what her friends would think and left. Chuck sat back, feeling like he had been dragged butt naked across the desert and back. He heaved a sigh and slowly got up. Helen got to the kitchen door, where most of the women were, and stood back watching them. She could clearly see the tension-worthy witness was causing. She heaved a sigh. She had to face it, face them. Like Chuck said, it was really no one's business who she decides to sleep with. Chuck was a grown man, and so was she. Nma, she knew, would not outrightly condemn her, but she knew she needed to explain to her. She didn't owe Star any particular explanation. "How did you sleep, Helen?" Star asked bitterly. "Star, come on," Eva said and turned to Helen and smiled. "Good morning." Best to get it out of the way, Helen thought. "I am sorry about what you had to see. It was not my intention for you to catch you with him." "Okay, fine. But tell us, what was your intention then?" Star rudely interrupted. Helen turned to her. "Actually, I owe you no explanation, Star. Don't think I care about what you think. I guess not. So you're telling us only Dave deserves your explanations? Oops, forgot all about him, didn't you?" "Stop it, Star. Please. It is really none of our business what two consenting adults choose to do," Amber censured. Star turned to Amber. Everyone present knows what is between I and Chuck. With the exception of me, I just said, "Are you guys dating?" "Shut up," Star commanded IJ. "Whatever it is existed only in your mind. Chuck doesn't waste time when he wants a woman, as we can obviously see," Amber rejoined. Helen, sensing trouble, quickly thought of a way to avert it. "Nothing happened between us," she interjected. They all turned to look at her. Eva laughed. "Okay, you spend the night with the #1 bachelor in the country, the sexiest man alive in the world, and nothing happened?" "It was an honest mistake. I didn't know the room I picked was his, so I went to bed early and he came in sometime in the night. We both didn't realize we had company till we woke up this morning." "Seriously, you expect us to believe that story?" Star asked angrily. "I don't expect anything from you, Star. I couldn't care less what you think." "It's my fault. I am sorry, Helen," Nma, who had been silently watching, said. "I have a meaning to tell you about that room. Actually, I am sorry." "Okay. Strange that you took to that room the same way he did. Do I sense a connection there?" "Not if it means the rage I feel now for the pig-headed man." They laughed. Helen heaved a sigh of relief. "What can I do to help, Nma?" "Could you mind the children? Take them to the garden and out of our way." "Done. Where are they?" "Their rooms for now." Nma smiled and Helen left. "She's lying," Star said. Nma turned to her, eyes blazing. "I do not appreciate you coming into my home and insulting my friend. I don't appreciate the condescending way you speak to her." Star opened her mouth to say something, but Nma waved her off. "Helen may not be in your league, but she is a sweet girl. If she says they didn't do anything, I believe her. And if they did, it is no one's business. That does not satisfy you, then go to Chuck and find out. And while you're at it, ask him to define what is it that is between the two of you, because I sense you are confused and uncertain." "Okay, let's tiptoe out of that territory and go back to prepping for my sweet nephew's birthday party," Eva said pleadingly. Nma turned away from Star reluctantly and went to the fridge and threw it open, trying to calm herself down. Chuck, then dressed, jogged down to the beach, where his friends were just standing around instead of playing ball like they said. Chuck knew they were not just waiting for him. He also felt that they were not going to slap each other's back and joke about what they saw. With mild curiosity, he didn't understand it, but Helen seemed to be important to his friends. "Hey, why are you guys standing around like a club already beaten?" he tried to joke. "Helen, really? Of all the women?" Stanley started. "I am sorry. I thought your girlfriend is supposed to be IJ. I didn't mix things up, did I?" "Both of you stop it," Richie said. "Of course you didn't mix things up, but Helen is not your kind." "Fantastic. I have a kind now. Pray tell, what is it?" "She's not the one-night stand kind of girl, Chuck. What is it with you?" "I am sorry you didn't hear her kicking and screaming when I dragged her into my lair last night. I think you should pay better attention next time, Mr. Knight in shining armor. Or maybe you should forget about other women and pay more attention to the one you call yours." "Chuck," Richie warned, but it was already too late. Stanley was reacting. "What do you mean by that?" "Just reminding you how not so long ago you told me to mind my own business, and that the only woman I need to worry about is the one I'm sleeping with." "Back at you, bro. He picked up the ball and left. You may not notice, but that's one fragile woman, and I care about her. If you hurt her, I will. Chuck turned, eyes blazing. Funny how I said that same exact words to your girlfriend few days back. There was silence everywhere. Do something, Charles pleaded with Uche. The only way to end this is with a few punches, and I don't feel like getting punched today. It's my son's birthday. They'll come to blows. Yep, been brewing for a while now, and they will get it out of their blood and finally calm down. My father is looking forward to it. He has not grounded anyone in a while now. They both saw where Uche's father was waiting in anticipation, and they began to laugh. I don't want to believe it of you, but if you go after IJ, not even if she's water, and I'm in a desert dying of thirst, but like I try to tell you, I am not the one you should be worried about. How dare you? Stanley took a swing at Chuck. His blow connected with his jaw. Chuck caught his next punch and swung, but Uche caught his fist. Enough! They all stopped at Uche's father's booming voice. I came here to play football and hang out with men, but all I have done so far is listen to gossip. And now this? I am sorry, sir. Chuck apologized. You two girls go over there and sit while I play ball with the men. Uche laughed, but one look from his father had him shutting up. He picked the ball and followed his father, but not before grinning at Chuck and Stanley. Helen sat on one of the magnificent garden benches and watched Sean and Sky, Versy's daughter, play with the beautiful flowers the garden was so proud of. It was a breathtaking place, and she smiled fondly at the children's antics. Then she heaved a sigh because, as magnificent as the garden was, her mind was too muddled up to enjoy or appreciate its beauty. Her thoughts were darkened by her predicament. What was she going to do about Chuck, about Dave, and most importantly, about her memories? She picked up her phone and opened the browser. There must be someone somewhere she could go to get professional help, because if she didn't solve this problem, she would stay confused for the rest of her life until she remembered. She would not ever get the chance to be with Chuck. Then she laughed ironically, startling the children. They looked at her oddly. Sorry, darlings. Auntie was just musing. They went back to their play. Helen sighed. When it came to Chuck, she was the most confused. Sometimes it seemed as if there was a force greater than anything earthly calling a tune for them to dance. And dance they were. It seemed so incredulous that they both ended up together last night. What was the odd that among all the people gathered, they had to fall in love with the same room, spend the night together? There was more to what fate seemed to be calling than meets the eye, and she felt that only by dancing together would they find the perfect rhythm created for just the two of them. Maybe she shouldn't throw this chance away. Who knew where it would lead to if they started dating? To marriage, perhaps. She laughed, then stopped. Who said it couldn't lead to marriage? She might just be the one he would give his heart to. After all, he would fall in love and get married one day. Why not to her? Because you have amnesia that you have hidden from the people who love you. And if you do this, he would find out and they would all feel betrayed by you. Her mind whispered. Helen heaved another sigh. There was only one solution to it. If she wanted to have the chance of a lifetime with the only man she could ever love, it was vital she regained her memories, and she must do this in a way that no one, especially Nma, would feel betrayed by her silence on the matter. That bad, huh? Helen started out of her thoughts, looked up and saw IJ standing over her. Excuse me? I have been watching you daydream, she smiled. And no doubt about Chuck. You got it so bad for him. That is not a discussion I'm willing to have with you. Listen, he's hot, sexy and wealthy. I would have snagged him before now if I could. I thought you already have a hot, sexy and wealthy man. Don't unsheath those claws yet. Yes, I do. But what warm-blooded girl wouldn't dream about Chuck? She laughed. Helen had nothing to say to that, so she kept quiet, silently agreeing with her. You and I should be the closest in this bunch. How so? Helen asked. The last thing she wanted was a friend like IJ, a conscienceless being who was greedily taken from a man who cares about her without a thought or two about his feelings. We are the least popular and most hated of the group, IJ replied. Speak for yourself. They hate me because they can't imagine how a Miss Nobody like me could snatch the second richest man in Africa right from under their noses. Hate is a strong word. I think they are wary of you. They think you don't love him enough, and you certainly act like you are there only for all you can get. Yes, I demand the glitters, the designers, vacations and 5-star treatment everywhere I go. Do you think I don't offer anything in return? Helen looked at her a bit confused. You are right. I would expect love, loyalty, and trust if I were him. Wake up, darling. It is hypocritical of the lot of them to judge me for getting paid by him. I offer him my body to do and play with as he pleases without ever complaining or saying no. I clean up after him, I cook for him, play his hostess, do all the wifely duties without the benefit of a marriage certificate. And they think I should do it for free, so that when he goes on to marry a debutante like Rose would want for him, I would be left stranded and back to square one. I don't kid myself. I take what I am offered and give what I am asked. What is relationship if not give and take? When you put it like that, it makes little sense. But there is so much more to a man and a woman being together than material things and sex. You make it sound like high-class prostitution. You sell yourself short, thinking he would never have any use for you than a bedmate and a housekeeper. It's called reality, Helen. So if I were you, I would take whatever Chuck offers and invest in myself. So if you meet a man who is ready to offer more than what Stanley is offering in material things, would you leave him? IJ laughed. Let's just say that man is married to Nma. But there are lots of eye candies around for the fun of it. I would leave you to your daydream, but it is better to live in reality, so open your eyes. Helen heaved a sigh of relief and watched her go, more confused than ever. Somehow she could understand where IJ was coming from. How could she judge IJ when she did not know if her past was darker than IJ's weird present? She heard some voices. She watched to see if the children were alright and went to investigate. Chuck was standing with IJ and she was talking in her usual seductive way of half laugh. One day, darling, you will take what I freely offer.
In the still of the night, I think of you. My heart beats with every thought of you. You're the one I can't let go. In your arms I find my home. Love, sweet love, it's you I'm dreaming of. Every moment with you feels like a gift from